My dear friends, how do we become a child of God? John's Gospel, from which we have our reading this morning, sets out a description. To all who believed him and accepted him, he gave the right to become children of God, born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. Ponder what it meant to be a child in the culture of the ancient Near East, within which Jesus was born. To be the firstborn son was to be the bearer of the Father's name, and the essential thing was that the name did not die out among the people. This is why there is that otherwise quite strange rule about Levitical marriage, that a brother who died and left a widow also left an obligation upon a surviving brother to marry that widow, and for the first child of that subsequent marriage to be named after the deceased brother. This was simply so that the dead brother's name would not die out amongst the people. Furthermore, the child is the inheritor of what the father has established, the name, but also what that meant, the position in society, the social esteem, the security. This understanding is what is captured by John in his summary. These are the priorities of ethnic identity, the blood, human desire, the will of the flesh, or the social pressures, the will of man. What John is saying is that all the valuable things that would come to a natural son of a human being now come to those who have accepted Jesus. In other words, whereas Israel was seen as being the beloved child of God, with an emphasis upon ethnic continuity, the sons of Abraham, now to be a child of God rests upon the answer to the question that Jesus himself asks: who do you say that I am? Those who identify him are those who can now enter into the inheritance that was previously only available to those qualified by blood. So this is a claim to status, to be a member of the divine family, to receive the approval and authority that comes from that status. To change the guiding metaphor, this is the new entry point to membership of the chosen people. And with this new entry point, there are new boundary markers. Instead of the rite of circumcision, there is now the rite of baptism. Instead of the temple sacrifices, there is now the Eucharist. Instead of the atonement ritual, there is now the rite of confession, and so on. We Christians have been grafted on to the vine of Israel, and the grafting comes by recognizing who Jesus is, that he is the one full of grace and truth, who came to live in our midst, God with us. This is how we become children of God, to recognize Jesus for who he is, and therefore also to recognize God for who he is, that God is like Christ, and in him is no unChristlikeness at all. Our role as children is to follow in the footsteps of Christ, to be Christians, and to work his work in the world. After all, as St. Paul puts it, the creation waits with eager longing for the revealing of the children of God. So let's get on with our children's work. Until we meet again, Amen.